residents of the wonderful land of ants. Thank you so much for your likes and subscriptions to my channel. Today, let's dive into history and take a look at Kokoda Front Line. 1942, the first Oscar-winning film from Australia. In 1942, when World War II reached Australia's very doorstep, a short documentary film appeared, Kokoda Front Line. A powerful 8-minute frontline report that became the first Australian production to win an Academy Award. At the 15th Academy Award ceremony in 1943, the film shared the Best Documentary Oscar with 3 American films.
Facing the Japs at Kokoda. It's an uncanny sort of warfare. You never see a Jap even though he's only 20 yards away. They're complete masters of camouflage and deception. I should say about 40% of our boys wounded in those engagements haven't seen a Japanese soldier, a live one anyway. Don't underestimate the Jap. He's a highly trained soldier, well-disciplined and brave. And although he's had some success up to the present, he's now got against him some of the finest and toughest troops in the world. Troops with a spirit amongst them that makes you intensely proud to be an Australian. I saw militiamen fighting over there, fighting under extremely difficult conditions, and alongside the AIF, and they acquitted themselves magnificently. When I returned to Moresby, I was full of beans. It was the spirit of the troops and the knowledge that General Rowell was on the job.
The Battle of Midway, Moscow Strikes Back, and Prelude to War. Creators and filming the director and editor was Ken G. Hall, head of Cinesound Productions, famous for its newsreel series. The core footage consists of raw, unfiltered material shot directly on the front lines in the jungles of New Guinea by the legendary Australian war cameraman Damien Parer. Parer personally narrated some versions of the film, adding an emotional, almost diary-like voice to the visuals. The film was produced by the Australian Department of Information as part of wartime propaganda and news reporting efforts. What the film shows, Kokoda Front Line, is not stage cinema. It's a harsh, unvarnished look at the brutal reality of tropical warfare. The camera captures Australian soldiers, mainly militia from the 39th Battalion and other units, fighting along the infamous Kokoda Track, a narrow, muddy, exhausting path through mountains and dense jungle. Extreme conditions, endless rain, knee-deep mud, malaria, dysentery, shortages of food and ammunition. The heroic assistance of local Papuan carriers, affectionately called Fuzzy Wuzzy Angels by the troops, scenes of evacuating the wounded, brief moments of rest, and the exhausted faces of young fighters. The film conveys a constant sense of danger, physical exhaustion, and human endurance. For 1942, this was one of the most candid depictions of war. No excessive glorification, but deep respect for those holding the line. Historical context: the Kokoda Track campaign, July-November 1942, was one of the most critical moments of the war for Australia. Japanese forces were advancing toward Port Moresby, which would have opened the way for an invasion of the mainland. Australian troops, often outnumbered and under-equipped, managed to halt the enemy in extraordinarily difficult conditions. These events became the foundation of the national myth of resilience and unity. Parer's footage, especially images of wounded soldiers being carried on stretchers by Papuans, became iconic and entered the collective memory of Australians. The film didn't just document events, it played a vital role in boosting morale back home. Significance and legacy: winning the Oscar turned Kokoda Front Line into a symbol of Australia's contribution to the global fight against fascism. It showed the world that the war in the Pacific was not only about American aircraft carriers and naval battles, but also about bloody jungles where ordinary Australian boys fought and died. Today, this short but incredibly powerful work remains one of the most striking examples of early Australian wartime documentary filmmaking and a key witness to the Kokoda campaign, one of the toughest and most heroic chapters in the country's history. For anyone interested in World War II, the Anzac spirit, jungle warfare, or the history of Australian cinema, Kokoda Front Line is far more than archival footage. It's a living reminder of the true cost of freedom and endurance under the most extreme conditions.
It's a grim business of man against man, kill or be killed. Coming out after 6 weeks in contact with the enemy, battle-scarred militia troops who have upheld the proudest traditions of the Australian Army. They have suffered fearful privations, fighting day and night. Their casualties have not been light, but they've carried on. This is war, the real thing. The utter weariness of sorely tried men is evident in their faces. but they've won their spurs. Quietly, they accept praise for the job they've done, but they don't forget the cobbers who did not come back with them. Snowy Parr, militiaman at left, got 15 Japs with a single Bren gun burst in a one-man ambush. These unutterably weary soldiers must walk 6 days before they reach the comparative ease of Moresby. There is no other way. At a forward dressing station, minor wounds are attended to. Close shave. That's why soldiers wear tin hats. Only serious cases can be carried. 45 stretcher cases in the group Parer traveled with, nearly 400 native carriers. They must work in relays because of the exhausting labor. By these things do we begin to grasp the appalling difficulties of the New Guinea campaign. Some of these boys are sorely hurt and were literally snatched from beneath the noses of the Japs by heroism of their companions. They face a long, painful journey. Men quite badly hit walk to relieve the pressure on the carriers. And right up there near the front, a banner every soldier will salute. A great organization doing a great job. There's a dramatic reality about all this that cannot be escaped. Cheerfulness and courage, contrasting sharply with suffering. It will take a lot of Japanese to conquer that kind of spirit. The care and consideration shown for the wounded by the natives has won the complete admiration of the troops. With them, the black-skinned boys are white. Rain sheeting down every day, monotonously, falling from the tropic skies as if the clouds had burst, turning the track into a quagmire, adding 1,000-fold to their difficulties. These are grim pictures, brutally, terribly real. They smash at complacency as nothing written or spoken ever possibly could. This is happening less than 300 miles from Australia's coastline, half the distance from Sydney to Melbourne. Men are sweating, suffering, dying in that jungle, so that it cannot happen here. Are they getting all the support they deserve from the mines, from the factories, from the ordinary civilian? Can every man and woman in this country truthfully say, I've done all I can, given all I can?
I've seen the war, and I know what your husbands, the sweethearts and brothers are going through. If only everybody in Australia could realize that this country is in peril, that the Japanese are a well-equipped and dangerous enemy, we might forget about the trivial things and go ahead with the job of licking them.